All right, cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first official episode of the podcast, The Games That Made Us. I am your host, Zeko12, and to my left, my left, this is WillHavenGaming. Directly above me, KosmicKloud, and then diagonally left is KittyMecha. Everybody here are content creators on Twitch, so go follow them at their handles that I just said, and I'll have them in the description below, and we'll plug them at the end again. But today, and if it's your first time listening, first time watching, whatever, because there's audio versions, we're going to be talking about the games that made us. Basically, what this is a podcast talking about our love of video games as content creators on Twitch. We do play a lot of games, and we've had a lot of experiences throughout our lives playing them. So I thought, what better way to talk about the love of games than by getting a variety of different people who've had a variety of different experiences to talk about their love and their experiences. So we're going to get into some nitty gritty stuff with like mental health and video games, stuff like that. And also some uplifting things like the funniest stuff you've had while playing video games, some of your favorite aspects, things like that. So it's nothing too crazy and nothing too intense, but it should be a lot of fun. That's what we're looking for. So I guess the first question from my guests here today is kind of the basis of how this is going to start. What's like the first game you've ever played? The first game that kind of introduced you into the video game medium as a whole and kind of led you down this path that you're on right now?
That's an interesting question because I feel like depending on how old you are, starts off with like what type of game did you. And it's weird because I was talking about my top 5 yesterday on stream, and somebody said that their first game was like a Wii U game, and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
So it's like
Oh,
a
wow. Yeah.
different generation, right?
Mm.
So I have like baby pictures with like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like that was my first game that I remember playing. That I remember like I can't win this level type of thing. And it's kind of weird looking at my baby pictures now and then seeing like that fat Sega Genesis controller in my hand, and then just like you get that nostalgia, and you go back in time, you remember all that stuff. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog's like I remember all the songs, like
Yeah,
all the
soundtrack's amazing.
soundtracks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Green Hill
all of
Zone's
that.
so legendary. It's
Yeah.
like one of my all-time favorite level songs.
I was
For
gonna
sure.
say don't end me for this, but I do have a Sonic and Knuckles, and I've never
Yes.
played anything but Sonic 2 for like one
Wow.
level.
Wow.
So
Gotta
yeah.
get into it. Never too
Yeah,
late. The
gotta put it on
Sonic
your list
Mania
now.
was pretty good. Just came out recently.
Yeah, I plan to go through them at like the mainline, well, the 1, 2, and 3 mainline series. I know a lot of the other ones are considered mainline, but yeah.
My first Sonic game was Sonic Adventures 2, I think, which was like when they introduced Shadow or something like that. I don't know if that was like the first time they introduced him, but that was my first Sonic game. And then I think I just stopped after. I haven't played one since, which is kind of crazy, but no hate to Sonic at all. It was great. I had a
Oh,
blast,
okay.
but sweet.
Yeah, I played the OG Sonic, but that was even then. That was around the time where there was like that Nintendo Sega, rivalry
Yeah.
that was under that thing. So I was a Nintendo guy. So I'm gonna sound cliche, but yeah, my first game I remember playing was obviously Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And played the crap out of
Oh,
those.
man.
Just unbelievably amazing. But yeah, it's just been great. All the games that's been coming out, all the consoles that have been coming out since then. It's so unreal. And it's good to still have that love that I have at being like 873 years old than I did when I was like 6 years old. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's
So-
awesome. That's awesome. Duck Hunt.
So yeah,
fun.
I was sorry, Nemo just like distracted
good.
me.
No worries, no worries.
So
That's a
and
part
for
of
those
it.
of you that are not seeing video, that's my cat. But yeah, I'm like you. I was a Nintendo kid. I actually never had a Sega console until
Same.
recently.
Yeah.
But my first console was the NES. But like I would say that I didn't get into like hardcore gaming until like SNES, but my first games was Super Mario World 3 and Duck Hunt. So those are my two. I had Punch Out, but it was very hard, and
Oh,
a lot of the like old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the other one that I love to
Yes,
play that, the
yes.
original Turtles game.
Yeah.
But
Another very difficult game. That was Turtles
Yeah.
1 was so tough for NES. Unbelievable. I still have yet to beat it. Still good.
Yeah, and I'm actually like a I think maybe one or probably 2 generations behind like where my like people around my age generally were. So like my family couldn't afford to get newer consoles or the current consoles at the time. So like I was pretty much like 2 consoles behind everybody else, which
Yep.
honestly, like looking back, I kind of prefer that I had that because I feel like I got to experience more because the older I got, it was like the more games I had in compare like because it's like you know what I mean? Like most people are like they had what was available at that time, whereas for me, it's like I got that plus the new stuff and you
Mhm.
know, it's kind of cool being able to like say that like I played older games like growing up, even though I'm like, you know, in a different age group than most people that started with those.
Right. And you get to play like more niche games too. Like for me, I had well not my first console wasn't an Xbox 360, but when I had my 360, I immediately went to like the PS4 and I didn't get to play a lot of like the niche indie games that have been coming out, which I like really am disappointed by because I've started playing a lot of indie games now and they're amazing. Like Ori and the Will of the Wisps is phenomenal. Like art design wise, it's gorgeous. The soundtrack's amazing, and like I think that came out for Xbox One, but not 360. But when I went from my Xbox One to my PlayStation 5, I never got to play these indie games because as immediately when I got rid of my Xbox, I was like, okay, now I have to get these PlayStation games. So I never got to like increase my collection because I never kept the consoles that I had. Now I'm starting to do that more. Like I still have my N64 with like almost like all original hardware, like nothing's changed. The original controllers that we got it with in 99, the year I was born. And like I still have my GameCube too, and like completely original.
Everything
like
still
the
works?
control,
The
everything
controllers
still
still
works.
work?
Oh yeah.
Wow,
My-
nice.
If I knew where my GameCube was, I'd show you the controller. The rubber on the joysticks are completely gone now. Because
Well, that's usually the first thing to go. It was the
yeah.
joystick, the 64. The
And
little
like my
knob in
R
the
button
middle.
gets a little stuck, but not really, like just enough where I can still play like Melee and everything, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's like I mean, my first console was an N64. My first game was playing Ocarina of Time with my brother, and
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. There
Great
you go.
game.
him lying to me and saying that the controller's plugged in and we're playing together, but it's just him playing.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
one of those great moments.
You're not the only one, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody did that.
Oh, that's so good. But that's one of my all-time favorite games is Ocarina of Time for sure. It's great. Even though the Water
Yeah.
Temple, we all know the Water Temple
Yes,
story, but
yes. And I was gonna say, like, I know you asked us to make a top 5. That was the hardest to choose if that was gonna be my number 1 or my number 2 or. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do 5 in general. I'm not gonna number them because I just felt bad putting it in my second spot. But Ocarina of Time, man, that game, the exploration, the freedom that you had, the choices that you made, all those things, and depending on how old you were, like the level of maturity you had, like of patience. When you mentioned the water temple, it took so long for me to beat that game. I remember like years went by, and again, like nowadays game releases come out. I feel like I'm rushed to
Yeah.
complete a game quick.
Yeah.
Whereas now, when I was younger, it was like you went to the store and it's like, what game will I play for the next 6 months? And I was like, okay, that's the game. And that's one of those games that took me super long to complete, but it was so fun. Like every aspect of that game was super fun. And I was like struggling to like try to figure out how to beat all these different things, and I had no one to go to. Back then they had those big
books.
players manuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go into
I
the
still
store
have
and I
some
would
of
try to
those,
flip
Jesus.
through like I gotta figure this out.
GameFAQs.com.
Oh
The, or
yeah.
not
Yeah.
GameFAQs, cheatcodes.com or something like that.
I used GameFAQs all the time. And I remember I used to use IGN walkthroughs too. That was like
I
the
think
go-to.
Timecodes was before GameFAQs. I think that used to be. I used to print out paper like pages at school
Hmm.
because like you didn't have nobody had a printer at that point.
I used to get in trouble. My parents would find out that I printed out like 20 sheets of colored manual paper. She's like, "What is all this stuff? This printer ink is really expensive."
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's wild. Speaking of
I was
beating
gonna say-
games.
Oh,
go-
sorry. I was gonna say I didn't
ahead.
give you my top 5. I gave you my most influential 5, which is
Yeah.
a
Okay.
very, very different list for me.
Yeah, Cosmic, you weren't
Yeah.
the only one to complain about me limiting everybody to 5. Kitty also was not happy with the
Yeah,
5.
I decided, I was like, you said, the most influential, and then I went back in time and I just thought about like the games that meant the most to me, and I just kind of went down chronologically, and I was like, what was the first game what game got me into gaming? And that was Sonic the Hedgehog, like those platformer games. Again, Mario was like one of those games I played a lot. I didn't put N64. I didn't put Mario 64 on there, but that game I played a lot, you know. But I just wanted to make sure like those games are like which ones like the transitional games. That's what the games I put on my list. Like
Okay.
those games that marked a different period of my life, and then like how it affected my like regular life. I don't know like how those things like compared to my regular life. So like again, Legend of Zelda, one of those games where at that time when it was out, 98 I think it came out. I was like 9 or 10 and I was playing as a character that kind of resembled my age, you know, and I felt that relationship. So that was one of those games where it's like, you know, I can see myself in the game and the exploration, I felt like I was actually on an adventure. So that was one of those games I was like, dang, like, you know, I felt like I was in a whole different world type of thing. And so yeah, I made sure I was like looking up these dates because I was like, I want to make sure I get them right because you know when you look back at time, it gets all
Oh yeah, everything gets
twisted
pushed
up there.
together. But I mean that's two things that you brought up that I think are really cool, especially with like the beating games thing. Like when you were talking about a lot of games are coming out, like the periods that they're coming out are very quick. Like I just I bought the Quarry, I think the day after it came out, and I beat it. I think it took me like 8 hours to beat it. And the Quarry is like a choice based game. It's people who made Until Dawn, Supermassive Games. So like it's longer depending on the choices you made. I didn't make a lot of right choices, I will say. There wasn't a lot of people left alive at the end of my playthrough. There was a lot of tears that were shed for some characters for sure. But like I've started going back and 100%ing a lot of my games. I don't know if any of you here are like achievement hunters, trophy hunters, 100% whatever. I started doing that recently
for achievements. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that too. A lot of people depend like if you want to go back and play it, but I've started 100%ing my stuff.
Sorry,
Go for
PS3
it.
and 360 did a really great job with achievements and trophies. I know at one point like I was really into that to the point where like when I used to work at GameStop. I worked there for like probably about 5 years. But like you could check out games and like take them home and play them for like a couple days and bring them back. And like started checking out games like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you could like platinum the game in like 5 minutes. Like, stuff like that.
Those are the best.
Yeah, so stuff like that. And also I was gonna say, make a comment about like the whole like beating games quicker. I think like newer games in general, I think they rely a lot on like DLC and future content. And I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that's like a detriment in general to like the gaming industries and gamers as a whole, because it feels like companies and publishers just kind of like try to siphon content to us and make more money because they're like holding content that is either like created or that they know they're going to do in the future. And then on top of that too is like sometimes games are just like put out like not polished or not finished because they need to do an update. Like, and I feel like this new generation of like consoles, and because like we're dealing with the internet and updates and all that stuff, and it's so like new tech, I think it gives them that leeway to not be polished or finished
Right.
at the
Yeah.
detriment of gamers.
Yeah.
Everything's
I
coming
agree.
out in beta, and it's like, oh, this is a beta game. It'll release with more features later, and you're just stuck there with the game. I have a friend that was complaining about Baldur's Gate the other day. Like, that game is supposed to be done already, and he plays up to a certain point, and then they wash him back to the beginning. He plays up to another certain point that they've updated it to, and it's kind of annoying. It's like you're buying half done games, and they're just promising you more, like teasing you with more, like, oh, there's gonna be an update. Don't worry. It's so annoying, but I think that's the norm. That's the norm now, and they're mostly getting away with it for the most
Look at
part.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That was like a huge like,
Yeah.
that was a huge. I mean,
Disappointment.
granted, I think. Well, yeah,
Disappointment,
but
yeah.
sure, but it was also the fact that like they relied on like updates and like changes and fixes after the release of the content. It's like you're paying for a broken game,
Yeah.
and it's really it sucks. It is what it is, but yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's a blessing and a curse too, because like so you get those half done games and you have to wait for the updates, but then as soon as that one game comes out that is finished, it feels like it's a masterpiece. Because you're like, now I don't have to wait for anything. Like I got everything I needed out of it. And it was great. I mean, I can't think of anything recently that was like
Elden
that.
Ring?
Elden Ring.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't played. I
Elden
haven't
Ring.
Yep,
played
that's a good
Elden Ring
example.
yet.
Very good
Yeah.
example.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I haven't played it, so that's on me. But yeah, I guess Elden Ring. Yeah, everybody is praising that game because it was so. I mean, there's people that I know that are still like sinking hours into it, and they've beat the game 3 times already, and it's like that's. I mean, From Software is killing it for
Yeah,
sure.
FromSoft is they're beasts. They're
Yeah,
awesome.
they're insane. Um, Another thing that actually Cosmic you brought up that I kind of want to talk about, it is a little bit of a deep cut topic, is when you said like when you played Ocarina of Time and you were like 9 or 10 and you felt like you had a character that represents that, as representation in games is such a huge thing nowadays too. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. I'm obviously one of the people, I am a straight white male, and those are the majority of the protagonists in video games.
Yeah.
So
I think we're used to that now. It's like, do you want to pick John Doe or Jane Doe? And then that's like, that was the cookie cutter, main character select screen in the, when I first started playing games. But then there were games out there that had a diverse cast of people, or I don't know if they were not necessarily like token, but they were there. And I really enjoyed those types of games. When I was going down the list of games of trying to make this list, I remember a game called Vigilante 8. It was on PlayStation, and it was like a car, like one of those battle car games where you drive around in your car and you shoot people. The characters weren't actually on there, but they had a diverse set of characters that were on there, and I always like seeing that. See like I remember one character in particular. It was like an afro. She had an afro, and she had like a disco ball, and it was very
Well,
like
it sounds like a
genre-esque.
Twisted Metal like franchise. I don't know if you guys ever
Yeah,
played the Twisted Metal.
that
That was a
was
fun
that
one.
was
That was a really good one.
yeah, that was on my list. That was on my list. Twisted Metal 4 was on my list. And
Nice.
yeah.
I
that
can't believe it
game,
went up that high, shit. I only played 1 and
yeah,
2. I haven't really
okay.
touched anything after that, but I should
Twisted
look
Metal
into it.
4 for me was like super cool because it was like the first game that I really liked the soundtrack of the game. And I was like, and the music in the game was more like metal, hard rock type of music. And I I don't know. I grew up in an environment. This is during the '90s that all they were playing was like R&B and like all these like slow jam songs and hip hop and stuff like that. And then I get to play this game, and this is like my window into another culture, right? Like this is the first time I get to hear this like metal hard rock. And I remember listening to it was a Rob Zombie song, Dragula, I think it was called. But that song came on, and I was just playing the game, and I was just like, I knew all the lyrics, I was singing it, and I was like, dude, like this is so cool. It was
Yeah.
edgy. It was really like I remember it being like a teen game, so it was like I wasn't supposed to be playing it. It was like the first like adult game that I got away with it. Like my parents like looked at the screen, and they were like, oh, he's just driving around in the car shooting stuff. That's okay. And I got away with it. But that game is super fun. And that also like just made me realize like it was cool to like music that not necessarily everybody else was listening to, and that there was other things out there that I liked that not everybody else liked. And I really enjoyed like that aspect of the game, or that element of the game, because I would have never listened to that ever if it wasn't for that game. There was no way nobody else around me was doing that.
Cool.
I'll dive back into the representation portion, because I think for me it's like double whammy. I'm a female and I'm brown. So for me, I think the closest character and probably the most meaningful character for me is Sniper Wolf from Metal Gear Solid 1. She's Kurdish, and that's probably the closest that I could have gotten to representing like who I am. I'm half Persian and I'm half Trinidadian, which is a very strange mix. But it was kind of cool to like see a character that's like Middle Eastern, especially like a strong woman. Like she was a badass in that game, and Metal Gear Solid 1 is in my like top 10 favorite games of all time. The Metal Gear series is in my top 3 favorite series of all time. But like having her be there and having that be, and I know she's a villain in the game, which not really like technically villain, but like she's a boss that you fight. She's not playable, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like the first time I saw that, I was like, holy crap, like that there's a Middle Eastern character in here and she's a badass. Like, you know. And like for me in general, I guess like I don't know, I'm probably like on the outskirts of a lot of things, like in terms of like female characters. I feel like I don't really necessarily feel the need to play a female character like all the time. I think like I kind of just enjoy the game for what it is. I kind of look at like games as like somebody else's like vision, and I'm experiencing it. So like for me it's like I'm experiencing what they want, you know, like what characters they have. And I had other games like that. Like Street Fighter was a huge like representation. I mean, like there's characters from all over the world in those games, and I like Street Fighter 2 is actually on my like most influential games ever. Like that's what made me into a competitive gamer. Like that game was like I wanted to beat up every single neighborhood kid in Street
Nice.
Fighter. I've gotten into like I don't know how many fist fights with my cousins, like literal fist fights over Street Fighter.
Nice.
But like that
Shairukin
series like
everybody.
had yeah, like I've told so many like stories on stream about like how I've like uppercutted my cousins
Oh
and
my God. No.
like, it's so bad. But like the series like that, I guess I feel like provided that like itch for me a lot. And I know that's not that doesn't hold true for everybody. I know that there is a lot of need for representation and stuff in games. But like for me personally, I feel like the games that was really into, and Soul Calibur is another series too. I like fighting games. Like provided a lot of that for me as well.
Wait.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is not being like, or being like a more minority, or you don't want to feel like you're being catered to. You want it to be more authentic, right? So like, I don't want them to just put the character in the game because it's like, oh, that's your character. You know, I want them to like, if they do put a character in the game, let it be genuine, let it be something they feel like is going to make the game better. But you know, I don't like, you know, again, you got those character selection screens where it's like, oh, you pick the brown skinned character and they have like 2 different hairstyles or something like that. You know, it's kind of annoying, but I do think that they're moving in the right direction. I think there is a game coming out soon, release, and there is a female lead in it. I can't remember what it is. I'll try to
Exactly
look
what
it up.
game you're talking about.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me Assassin's Creed vibes. Is that the one you're?
Yeah, it's like she's magical. She goes through like a
Oh,
portal.
Forsaken, I think is what it's called. Am I right?
Okay.
Forsaken? I could be lying completely right now.
She's like she's like in another dimension, or she somehow is like. Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
lying. Okay, never
I
mind.
just don't know the name of it. But anyway, that's cool. That's cool if that, you know, if that's the game and that character has a story that is, you know, for that world, and that's awesome. I think that's great. But I don't think it should be a checkbox. I don't want them to make a game and just say, "Oh yeah, we need a person of color on here just cuz," you know, and then just throw them in there for, you know.
100%.
I
I
don't
agree with you, and that's kind of why I'm like, if that's what they want, if that's their vision, like I'm just gonna go. You know, it's nice, but I like you don't want it to be a forced thing, and on you know, you know it, you'll know it.
Yeah, yeah, you could tell. You see how much effort they put into it, and it's just like has like a generic backstory. They just throw them in there. Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
Don't yell at us.
I know Deathloop was like something that was really good too, because it had 2 like they had 2 black leads. There was the main character that you play as, and then there was like I think she was an assassin. I haven't played Deathloop, so I'm not like 100% sure. But I heard that game received like fantastic reviews. I mean, it was the same people who made Dishonored, which I've played the first and second Dishonored, and I love those games. Fantastic. So I know that game was like highly well received. That wasn't proper English, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess we can move on to kind of the next. We'll go with a little not as deep of a question to kind of go back up. So what, like, if we're looking at games, what is one of the things that you look at that's kind of your favorite aspect? So like music, gameplay, graphics, a narrative. If you like have narrative, or I'll ask the narrative question after. Never mind. I'll wait. For me, as somebody who's interested in writing video games, a narrative driven game is like huge for me. I'm not I know not a lot of people. I haven't actually met somebody who's like graphics. I need like good graphics. That's what I want. I've never met somebody who's been like that. And if I do, I'm sorry that they're not playing like games like Undertale or something like that, where it's like an 8-bit, 16-bit game. But so whatever. But like narrative for me is something that I'm huge like behind. I love a very well narrative or well written game. So that's mine, I guess, to kind of kick it off.
Yeah, music. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say just music. I've been into music ever since I was a kid, like heavily into music, all genres, pop, you name it, punk, hip hop, electronic. But so obviously music is such a big factor, and especially in like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo 64 era, like the soundtracks were just so well composed. It's like unbelievable. Some of these composers, I wish I could name them, but and then the influences they got it from, like you can go down a rabbit hole of like the music and the background behind the music, and also being a musician. So music is a big part of my life. So because of that, I think for when I game, a lot soundtrack is kind of important. Not important to me, but it's there. I don't know. It's something I subconsciously or consciously focus on.
Gotcha.
I'll piggyback off of that. Music is definitely on my list too. I mean, Nobumatsu is my favorite composer ever. Mitsuda is also really, really iconic. Chrono Trigger is my favorite album and game of all time. And I think like I feel like music, unfortunately, like with newer games, it has kind of like changed and evolved in a way that's like more ambient. And I kind of wish that like it had the soul that it used to have, like in a lot of, because it's like when you
I can
hear
see
like,
that.
I mean, like even like the Mario theme, right? That's so iconic, and we think of it, and like new IPs come out, but like there's no iconic like music that you can really like think
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
relate it to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even if you like travel as far as like Halo, like when you hear that like like
Oh.
you know it's Halo. Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like nowadays like everything, well, I also feel like nowadays new IPs in general, I feel like are few and far in between. I feel like a lot of people are trying to either remake stuff or change like or like do sequels, or like it feels like not a lot of stuff is like fresh. But I think like music, I feel like it's like maybe indie games and smaller games have more like musical like interesting music to me than like the mainstream stuff, that unless it's like obviously remix versions of older songs that have already been out. But music is 100% something that is really important. My husband's also a musician. He was in a lot of video game cover bands back in the day, so I
Nice.
do know a lot of stuff. I've listened to so much. But I agree with you on that. And also for me, the gameplay. I mean, obviously, if the gameplay sucks, like, why would you even bother? Like, like, a story is one thing, because like it doesn't necessarily have to have a great story or compelling characters for me. But like, if the gameplay is garbage, like, I'm not gonna want to play it.
Fair. Oh man.
I think for me, like I would prefer like everything to be cohesive and like there's a whole concept, like everything kind of goes together. Again, music for me was like really big, but I think like when you look at the game, like I feel like all of the aspects, whether it's the game design to the UI to the music to the character, I feel like all of that, if it has like a really good cohesiveness, you can feel it, you can really feel connected. Nothing's distracting. But also another is like something that speaks to the times or something that fills in that gap because I feel like now everybody just hooks onto a trend and then they just ride it out. One of the games I like, again, Halo was really big, was going to be on my list, but then I thought about like what was like really pivotal, and then Gears of War to me like really clashed. And they both came out of Microsoft, so it's like two totally different games. And the vibe, the UI, the look and feel, the everything in that game kind of went well together. It was really well packaged. And I think like if somebody can give me a game that I feel like I can get lost in or I don't get distracted by something that doesn't go well, whether it's like the dialogue of the character, the backstory, or the necessary like the music and everything like that, I'm sold. I'm sold. If it all works well, if it melds well together, because sometimes I'll get into certain games and then I'll get distracted by like some crazy soundtrack they just throw in on a cinematic, and they just like it looks like they just were like, we have to fill in this blank. We have to make some epic cinematic, and they'll just throw in some, music over top of a really cool looking visual, and I'm like, this doesn't really
Hey,
go with what's happening.
Did you not enjoy the Marvel vs. Capcom 2? I want to take you for a ride.
Oh my god, I love that song. I love that song so much.
You said that was the first thing I thought about.
Oh man. So I guess I have a question, since all you guys kind of agreed on music and I'm the odd man out here. I kind of so I am also, for those of you who don't know me, I am a huge film buff as well as a video game person. So not recently, but a while ago, watched the silent movie called The Artist. I think it came out in 2015. It was a black and white movie, and was completely silent until about like the end. And there's a whole meaning behind that, but I won't get into it. Obviously, spoilers. But anyways, do you think a silent game would do well? Like there's no music involved. There's no soundtrack. It's just like pure. I mean, I guess you could just do dialogue, like text boxes that pop up, like in like a Charlie Chaplin movie, where they would have like the quick screens that would pop up and like say a word of like somebody saying something, and then the story would continue. Do you think something like that would do well, or do you think that the music really adds that concept that would sell? Would be
I think
is
it
a
would
selling
be
point for a
innovative.
game?
So in something different, something that again, where video games rely a lot of it heavily on soundtrack and sound effects and whatnot, to have something that has none of that. If you can visually stimulate the player and without having music, then that's pretty impressive. So I mean, I'd be very, very interested in seeing something like that. That'd be awesome. I know Silt didn't really have a soundtrack. I did have like just kind of like ambient white noise at times, but
Mhm.
if you guys ever want to check that out, like that had like very minimal noise, like in music or sound, I should say.
Okay.
I feel like it'd be really hard to pull off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would necessarily be a good or bad idea, but I think it'd be really freaking hard to pull off, because I think like video games, the difference between video games and movies I feel like movies are kind of like a outer experience, whereas like games are like an immersive experience, and I think soundtracks are there to convey emotion.
Mhm.
And like I think it works a little bit differently if you're immersed into it. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could work, but I
Yeah.
feel like it'd be very hard to do.
Fair.
Which is all the more reason why I would love to see it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'd be very curious to see how they could pull it off, if they could, or
Game devs,
Cool.
if you're listening / watching this, make a silent game.
silent
That's
game.
all I'm
Yep.
saying.
Silent game.
Cool. One actually, just another funny thing with music. One of my friends told me this, and I'm gonna say it to you guys to just ruin Pokemon for the rest of your life. So the old Pokemon games, if you took away the music, it'd just be a text-based adventure. Think about it.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
One of my friends hated that idea. He was like, I don't even want to think about that anymore. He thought it was like so weird, but I don't know. I thought it was funny. Cool. Yeah, I think music does have a heavy. I know one of my favorite composers is Austin Wintory. He did Journey and like Subnautica. Journey is
Journey's
fantastic. That game did something to me mentally. It was awesome. I loved it so much. Anyways, so were there any games? So I know we're still kind of in it, but COVID is still happening, and we are going to talk about it, as much as it's a tired subject at this point. But I feel like the amount of games that kind of came out or even were halted during COVID was a major factor in the gaming industry and for people who consume video games. So were there any specific games or just like moments while you were playing a game that kind of helped you through the whole like 2 years of quarantine?
I just need you to do one thing. Let's see the shirt.
Oh, the shirt.
That's
I
what got
love
me through COVID. Animal Crossing. That game came out at the most prime time, where it was like social gatherings was like a no-go, but you could gather on everybody's island on Animal Crossing. And I remember like I had never played Animal Crossing before, but Chris was like super into it. He loved the GameCube version, so when it came out, he was gonna get it. And just because COVID happened, I was like, all right, cool, like I'll get my own copy. So we ended up playing Animal Crossing. And when I tell you, I used to wake up at like 6 a.m. to like freaking do all my gardening in the game, make sure I hit up the shop. And then like we got like so many family members and like friends that like don't really game that much. Everybody was picking up Animal Crossing, and we would all just like call each other and like visit islands and go stargazing together. It was like that game that brought the social aspect back in when like everywhere else it was taken away from. I feel like Animal Crossing, and I think that's why it was the best. I think did it overtake Mario Kart? I don't know if it did, but it was like the #1 selling game that year. And I think it did a damn good job at it.
I 100% agree. I
Just
100% agree. I also played the one on GameCube, and then I played the one on the DS and then the 3DS. Like I kept on getting them because it's so much. I got the mobile game where like you designed RVs or something for people. Like it was awesome. And I don't know if the reason I liked it so much is like nostalgia. Like that was like me and my brother, we had with the GameCube version, you get a memory card, and Nintendo lies to you and says you need that memory card in order to play the game, but later we found out that that's not true. You can use any memory card. But there was the specific one,
Lies.
and we would like need to make sure you put it in the GameCube case because we didn't want to lose all of our progress. And like the house designs in that game were amazing, and it was like so much fun. And when New Horizons came out, I was like, I have to get this. And I mean, everything that they added, I mean, I loved just the very basic stuff in the first one, which all you could do is dig up fossils and garden and then help people, like help your villagers. That was it. And then you buy things and design your house. That was like, and you couldn't design your house as like in depth as you can in New Horizons. Like you just play something and drag it, and that's it. Like that's all you get.
Yeah.
So when this came out, and like you can do so much stuff. I mean, even the DLC that came out for it a little while ago, where you can like hang stuff on your ceiling now. You can add like extra walls coming out, like accent walls. I was like,
I was in a
happening?
Facebook group over the turnip exchange because
Oh my
because like this one chick, like she had like she had great prices on her turnips, so everybody was like in droves going to this girl's like aisle. She had to like shut down her code and like put batches of people, like literally like a line.
It's like a waiting list.
To her island.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But I mean, yeah, like I think like you were saying, the DICE Awards actually gave Animal Crossing New Horizons Family Game of the Year, which I mean, it's insane, and I think it 100% makes sense just because of how separated people were. I really think that this like brought everybody together. Like I was in college when this happened, and I was actually in Australia, and I got deported. I got kicked out right when COVID hit. So I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and I was only there for 3, and I had to like literally come back home. And then I was at home till like, and I had to take my Australian classes remote. So there's a 16-hour time difference. So I was up till like 6 a.m. and then I would go to sleep and then wake up at like 2 p.m. and then have to do stuff. So that was rough. But and like Animal Crossing really helped because I was able to play with like people that I met in Australia that are in a different country. Like I was playing with people from Norway, from Thailand, from like, it was insane. And I was just like, this is great. Like I was supposed to spend 6 months with these people and I spent 3, but now I got to spend another 3 in Animal Crossing, like on my island. So I 100% agree with you that like Animal Crossing, I think was a major like game release for that time.
I think I was playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Like they came out with a revamped. They revamped it or they upgraded the graphics or whatever. But they came out in the package, and when that came out, I just jumped on it and I just was like in the zone for like maybe three or 4 months, just playing it again, remembering all of like the different ways to get to certain areas and listening to the music again. It was really cool. But that came out when everything shut down, and it was really chill. I got to just take time to hang out with my children and play that game, and it was really fun. I think also I was playing Doom. I played Doom a lot. It wasn't like I wasn't trying to escape from the pandemic or anything like that. It was just that was one of those games that I could just delve into and try to find all the secrets and stuff like that. It's like those really arcadey games that you can just jump in and out of because my attention was pulled in every which direction. And also I was teleworking from home. So it's like, oh, I have an hour before I have to do a meeting. So let me just jump into this game for really fast. But other than that, I didn't really have any other games that really helped me cope with the pandemic. But those definitely did like give me some time to relax. It was like really relaxing and just jump into those games in and out.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was pretty much a hermit even before the pandemic, so it's like nothing really changed because I just, other than being in this room, 8
Mhm.
hours or however many hours I would game or stream, and then been working from home for what 5 years now. So again, that didn't change. So I didn't have to commute before the pandemic. So yeah, I got my workspace there. Made sure to separate obviously the gaming, the music area from like the workstation over there, because again, that it does affect people. And
Yeah.
at least from what people I've talked to working from home, like having issues and like, oh, I don't know what to do. And the biggest thing you can do, yeah, is definitely separate your gaming, your leisure, your hobby, your passion room from like your work room. You got it. Get it as far away as possible. It's weird to say, but it's true. So
I'm
Yeah.
so
um
bad at that. I literally work and stream and game right
I used
here.
to do everything here. I used to work here, stream here, record here. But then I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. So yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
moved the my work area to like my living room area, and now I just do my home studio recording and streaming here and gaming. So
Nice.
best thing I could have done though. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So many
I
things
struggle with
separated.
the same thing. I tried to do my
Yeah.
I try to do my homework and stuff on my streaming computer, and it's like I don't know, like I'm fighting the urge to just hit that or just start playing games. It's kind of two totally different things that you want to separate. Like I can't
Yeah.
do schoolwork and I can see the icon of that game that I just downloaded.
I will
Oh,
say I
yeah.
do have separate computers, so I have a switch because I have my work computer and then I have my PC computer.
Oh, okay, great.
So I have like a switch where I switch my monitors and I switch my USB devices, so
Hmm.
they'll convert over. But I agree with you. I just don't know. I'm just too lazy. My office is such a mess already. Just like I had switched out my monitors recently, and it's just like, oh god, I gotta like do stuff.
Yeah. I
Yeah, moving
100%
things around
agree.
is never fun. Yeah, never
Yeah.
fun.
My apartment at school, my desk and my computer were in the same room as my bed. So I would wake up, get out of
No.
bed, walk to my desk, sit down, work for 12 hours because I had to do classes, and then I also had like internships sometimes, and then I would go downstairs, make dinner, eat it, and then I'd stream in the same room, and then I would walk to my bed, go to sleep, and then do the same thing the next day. And I was
Oh.
like, I needed to leave.
Yeah.
It was
The
rough.
bed is really bad. The bed
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the bad one. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely my light just like randomly. I saw that. But yeah, I agree. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, the having the bed in the same space is so bad because you're just like, it's like, what's the point? like I can just sleep. I could just take a nap right now, and then I don't have to
Yeah,
worry
you gotta
about
be very
anything.
strong mentally to like get over that. Because that's how my bed's literally right here.
Mhm.
So again, I would spend pretty much the whole day in here, and I mean, I could do it. I don't know what I have this. I'm some sort of weird hybrid where monotony is, or just I could do the same thing over and over for a long time. But I was like, you know what, I gotta separate it just for my well being. So
Right.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna go into some deep questions here. We're gonna get into the real stuff as we're closing in. So this one is it's also gotten a little bit big now, just like representation is mental health in video games. So if you feel comfortable, no pressure at all. If you want to talk about how mental health in video games have affected you, or if you just know of like scenarios, that's fine too. But there's obviously no pressure if you don't feel comfortable like sharing anything about your mental health and how video games have impacted that. But I kind of just want to see what everybody's like opinion is on it and how it's either helped or if you think that it's not helping because of certain things. There's also that. So yeah, a big,
Yeah, I
big
think it's
question.
it's a hard question because when you think of how games affect in the public aspect, I feel like most of the time you get flack for violence in video games. You hear that all the time. Whenever something
Yeah.
bad happens, they're just like violence in video games. but you'd never hear the positive aspects. I feel like it's becoming more apparent now because everything is online and you're able to bridge those gaps between people. I know, you just mentioned the pandemic. When I used to live on the East Coast. That's where home is. Hey,
East Coast
and
represent.
I'm on the
Same.
West Coast now, right? And that's a huge time gap. And without social or without me being online playing video games with my friends, I wouldn't be able to have that social connection with people back home. So I feel like when it comes to mental health, maintaining those relationships with my friends, playing video games with them, and creating a reason to hang out online definitely like helps me a lot just to refocus. And also sometimes it's just a vent with like anything, and that helps with me with streaming as well. Sometimes I catch myself on a rant because you always have to constantly be talking while you're streaming, and then I'll just be like, wait a minute, calm down, relax. And so I think those two things are really helpful. Communication. I've met so many people all over, and they're just really positive, which helps me like kind of focus on like people are rooting for me. Strangers are rooting for me that I don't necessarily know why, but it feels good. And um, I wish that would change in the public realm. I wish that would be more prevalent. Like when people talk about video games and like social things like that, is how well video games can help you adjust to social norms and also like finding a community that is like supportive.
Mm.
Um, I guess I'll go next, and I also like just to comment on that. I think that I sometimes I feel like, and I won't get into the political aspects of it because nobody wants to hear that. But I will say that I think that a lot of times they use video games as an excuse. It's like the reality of it is it's all there. Like we know what the reality is, you know what I mean? And I think like unfortunately video games is like that thing that they can just utilize and say that's the reason, like that's the cause of it. Not mental health, not, certain regulations or things that should be in place to protect people. It's this thing that, is easy to blame. And,
Hmm.
you can't really blaming video games is going to do what? So I see what you I definitely agree with you on that. I actually one of my college classes I did a entire like research study on violence in video games. And I hate it. I hate it so
Yeah.
much. So, but I will say that I think for me with mental health, like I'm not shy. I have really bad anxiety. I have really bad anxiety and I had depression my entire life. It's just the double whammy that comes with my life. But video games in general, I think, has protected me from a lot of things. And kind of kept me sane. One of it, which is yes, multiplayer games is great. Because I'm introvert and extrovert when I want to be, which is very rare. And it does give me a chance to be social when I feel like I need to be. Um, in like in the comfort of my own space.
Mm.
But the real big deal for me is, growing up, like I kind of had a tough time growing up. I didn't really get along with my stepdad and my parents at that time. And I feel like I had a very like strict like most kids like go and hang out with their friends and stuff and like are able to go outside. I was like never allowed to go anywhere. Like I was very much like like super like hardcore rules and like I feel like the one thing that was able to get me past that is like video games because I just be like whatever. I'm just gonna stay inside and play
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. Like there's no reason for you to like get upset with me. So I feel like video games are like a really good escape for me, especially like when I was going through a tough time and like having to like process like being a kid and like growing up and things changing and trying to do with schoolwork. And I wasn't the most popularist kid in school. So it's like it was like my escape from like modern day reality. Like I can go into this game and be this other character and explore this other world and I don't have to be in this person anymore for that. And I don't know if that's a healthy thing, but it helped me through a lot. It helped me like escape everyday life when I didn't really want to be there. And I think that it still does that for me, like there's a lot of stress that comes with life in general, like, your job, your family, like your finances, whatever. But like I feel like video games is that one thing that's like when you turn on that game and you put that controller in your hand, everything else is just like it's out of your mind. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that that's a really important thing for a lot of people.
I totally agree. I think that stuff is really good for you, especially when you just want to get away and just relax, get away, and have control over kind of what's happening on the screen. I do think sometimes though people can tip too far in that direction, and they'll get lost in the game. And again, like they're probably going through some tough times, and reality sucks. But I think like I've met some people who the game is their reality now. Like like they play the game constantly. They'll especially at the big MMOs when they're just like they're
Oh, yeah.
playing the game for like 12 hours, you know. And I mean, it's cool. But I think, you know, looking to the future, with all these different types of cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, I could see that becoming more of a problem when people might be able to eventually start making a living in games, or they're selling different types of in content, whatever this. Oh, I just grinded for like 11 hours at this level and I was able to get this thing and I'm selling it to this. I'm just thinking about the future. I don't want that to be a norm. I want people to. It's kind of like if you guys have ever seen that Ready Player One movie, where
Also
you know,
Wally, where they're in the
a
like
while.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
well,
in
yeah,
the-
by and large,
they're all
just
like in the
sipping on
chairs.
their
Yeah.
like big gulps. Yeah,
Yeah,
That's my
I don't
baseline.
want that to happen. Let's just be cautionary about that. But yeah, I do think it's good in moderation. Everything
Yeah.
good in moderation
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
I'm a strong.
I won't
yeah,
be
strong
shy
believer
in
in that.
saying that. So I put Halo 3 on that like momentum list of like games, and I was really into Halo 3. Like it was I was hardcore into it. And at that point in my life, I had graduated high school. I also like kind of had a tough time because like when you graduate, everybody's like going to college and doing stuff. And I am actually Canadian, and I moved to the US when my mom got married. But unfortunately, we had a bunch of complications, and it took a long time to get my green card and my social security number. So when I got scholarships to college, I wasn't able to attend any of them because I didn't have my green card. I didn't have a social security number, so I couldn't actually go. So I got it like maybe 2 months after like everybody was like starting to like start school. And that's when I ended up getting a job at GameStop because I was like, well, what else am I gonna do? School's already started. So I kind of like fell into like a hard like depression pit. And then also like I moved out of my parents' house because it got like we didn't get along and it got really bad. So it was like I got out of my parents' house. I wasn't in college, and like I had just like broken up with one of my boyfriends. I was like going through a really rough period of time where I just felt like shit. And like Halo 3 was, I'm sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. This is not going to be a PG. Yeah, no. With
Wait a
my
second.
mouth, it's not going to happen.
Okay. But yeah, like I felt like shit, and I was like, Halo 3 was like that one thing, and I kind of got to this point where like I like, sorry, I'm gonna say it, but like all I did was smoke weed and play Halo 3. I would go to work, and I would work like freaking like 50, 60 hours a week at GameStop, which is crazy. And I'd come home, smoke weed, play a shit ton of Halo 3, and then pass out, get up, and do it again. And I did that for like 3 months. And I got to the point where I was just like, you can't live like this. Like, you cannot be this person. And I stopped smoking weed. And I still played Halo 3, but it was like, I kind of like tried to get out more and become more social and like, you know, go and hang out with friends. But it was a rough period of time where like I was one of those people that I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to do anything else but play Halo whenever my free time was. But I think it's easier to say that like, oh, I could just snap out of it, but like not everybody gets to do that, you know?
Yeah. You just, when you stop playing Halo, you mean you just stop trash talking people as much as what you're saying, right?
Tell you that like I literally like I just told my stream about this too. Like I like try to meet a guy on Halo like, back in the day, and I did meet him, but like he was kind of a douchebag. But it was like
sounds
literally
about right
like,
though. He's a
Yeah,
Halo
for
3
Halo.
player, yeah.
I mean, it's
for
better than
Halo,
meeting
yeah.
somebody in Call of Duty. If you know, you know.
I will
God,
say there
yeah.
are some I have
Also
like met
that.
friends like on Halo 3 that even to this day, like we don't play games anymore. We don't even really talk, but like, you know, like will still like comment on like Instagram photos or whatever, and I'm like, it's so crazy that I've known those people for like so long and I've never met them, and like
Oh,
I
yeah.
just know them from Halo, like you know.
Yeah, I have the same. I had
Crazy.
this group of people from. I used to play Rainbow Six Siege. I actually used to play Rainbow Six
Gosh,
Siege so
yeah.
much I almost went competitive in it, which was kind of
Wow.
wild. Yeah, I was actually getting like there was a coach that was actually talking to me, and then they canceled their console tournaments. So then I was like, well, never mind, because I didn't have a PC at the time. But when I was on my Xbox, we made a bunch of friends, and we all like added each other on Instagram. We had Instagram DMs, and we would send messages and be like, all right, are we playing ranked tonight? Because we got to get to plat 3, like this is the goal. And we would have like we would literally have strategy meetings, which was insane, but I haven't played with them since. But one of them actually just commented on my photo of post graduation, and that they were super proud. So like it feels
That's
good
great.
when like I haven't talked to these people in probably like, I mean, 5 years since I went to college, and they were still like, hey, great job graduating. I was like, thanks, it was hard. So yeah, it was
Awesome, because
crazy.
like you do meet lifelong friends. I mean, like I've met so many friends on Twitch, like that I feel like are, you know, it's crazy. And like, so we have this one buddy of ours, like he's actually from Vietnamese, but he lives in Canada, and we met him through Overwatch, like probably 5 years ago. And like Chris still like he plays Pokemon Unite with him now. Like we talk to him almost every single day. We talk to him more than like we talk to like normal like people we physically know in our real lives. Like, and it's just crazy, like the kind of friends like you can make online, and like another side of it too. And I didn't get to experience this, but I imagine like younger kids like that don't have friends in school or that are like are made fun of or whatever. Although like nowadays like video games are cool. Back then they weren't.
Yeah.
But like you know, it's like you can meet people that are like-minded like you and actually have friends. You know what I mean? You don't have to like find them in school. Like you find them on the internet, you know, and it's scary too. Don't get me wrong; it's very
It
terrifying.
has a
Oh,
dark.
yeah.
It could be a have
Yeah,
its ups
Yeah.
and downs. Yeah.
But it's also
For
like a
sure.
really cool thing where you get to meet a lot of different people with different mindsets and different like personalities that, you know, you may have never experienced.
I 100% agree. 100%. Will, I don't know if you have anything for like mental health and games, since we made it all the way to you.
Well, yeah, no, I love and agree with all your guys' points. It is really, it's an escape. It's a good escape. You know, everyone needs it, especially, you know, we all know life doesn't really deliver the best, you know, news or things out your way. So it's great to have something, whether it be video games or like another hobby or passion to rely on. But as Cosmic said, dude, everything in moderation, because I'm a strong believer in moderation and balance. Everything requires balance. You can't go off to one side, because I mean, again, maybe some people can pull it off and they're, you know, happy in their own sense, but I don't know. It's just, it's really hard. And for every individual, it's obviously going to be different too. So, but for mental awareness, again, I think, you know, the gaming community, depending on the gaming community, you know, what games you're playing, it's definitely a good outlet. I would imagine. But what I kind of like though is a lot of the indie games bringing now awareness to you know mental awareness basically. I can't think of the games now, but
Celeste?
there's been yeah, probably yeah,
Yeah.
most like yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's really great because, and especially even outside of gaming, obviously mental awareness is becoming like a known thing, and it's you know it's unfortunate that now it's just finally becoming a realization when this shit's been going down for decades, and you know when things were even harder than they are now. Don't get me wrong, things are still hard now, but it's again the awareness part, and just you know, people being aware of it and accepting of it and trying to learn more and trying to, you know, help others and whatnot. Dude, you know, just basically doing our part just to, you know, be there for one another, fucking love one another. That's it. It's all I want. Just all of us just fucking love each other and help each other out. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, so there's my my take on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to add. I feel like everybody kind of covered everything. But I mean, I've had my fair share of problems with mental health, especially going through I'm 5 years of college was a lot for me, especially during COVID. And having an escape or a way to just like connect with people I haven't been able to see or wouldn't talk to regularly was a major aspect. I mean, a lot of my friends from home where I am now, but obviously when when I was at school, like 5 hours away, I wouldn't be able to talk to them. And games would help me with that. And I still keep in contact with them now. And I mean, Kitty was saying, the friends on Twitch. I mean, this wouldn't be happening right now if I hadn't met any of you guys.
Yeah,
So I
true.
mean, and I mean, being a huge passion of mine is the entertainment industry. Podcasting is now obviously part of the entertainment industry of how big it's gotten. So without meeting these wonderful, amazing people that you should all go support, it wouldn't be possible, and I wouldn't be able to do what I wanted to do. All right, so as we're ending time, I want to go through the big question. This is based off of the games that you guys sent me to kind of go through the most influential games in your lives, and if you could like go into how maybe they influenced you, why they did, what changed if like you were going one way and then you played this game and it made you go the other way. I'll start off. I don't have like five, but when we were talking about indie games, this popped into my head, and then I have one that's
You don't have
that's always
five.
made
You
me-
made us struggle.
Hey,
Come up with five.
Listen,
And then you don't have
I think I only
five.
did
I'm
4, right?
hosting
That's
it. I'm hosting it. You guys are the guests.
Oh, so
it's not
it's different
about me.
rules.
It's not
Okay.
about me. It's about you guys. But the indie game I kind of wanted to talk about, and well, you kind of reminded me of this, especially with like Celeste and everything. Was Before Your Eyes. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
No.
It's a game that
Played it.
can be controlled. It doesn't have to be, but you have your webcam and it does facial tracking. And when you blink, the game blinks and then it goes on to a different part of the game. So it's basically, without like going into huge stories, you go through your life, and every time you blink, it goes to a different part of your life. So like
Cool.
you'll be like a child, and then you'll be like staring at the webcam, and you'll be like taking in all the sights, looking around, interacting with things. And the second you blink, either voluntarily or involuntarily, it moves, and you'll be like 15 years old now. And then it plays that part of your life out
The name of that game again?
Crazy.
before your eyes.
Before Your Eyes. I gotta add that to my list.
Highly
So
recommend.
cool.
It's
They're
really
so
cool game.
innovative.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, I don't want something like taking control of my webcam and looking at me, but like, I mean, everything's staring at you now, so who really cares?
VR headsets right now. They need to relax.
That's what I'm saying. But I played this game. I cried after playing this game. I do not shy away of having emotional reactions to anything. But this was one of the games that made me cry, and it actually had a huge influence on my life because it made me realize that, like, literally, like, it's a blink and you'll miss it moment. Like, life
Shit.
literally flashes before your eyes. Like as
That's so deep.
yeah, we're getting deep now. This is what it's all about. But it made me think, like, okay, so every time I blink in this game, like, it goes through your life, and then the game's over, and you're basically like dead.
Shit, damn.
Like that's the end, I guess. But when I went through after I finished it, I sat there for like 15 minutes just being like, what the fuck? Like, I spent like 5 years pursuing something that I'm like somewhat interested in, but I mean, I know KittyMecha knows this because I've preached it a lot of times. I talk about it on my stream all the time. I sound like a broken record a lot, but what I majored in is something that I'm slightly interested in, but it's not my passion. It's not my dream. Obviously, like I said, entertainment's my dream. And after looking at this, I was like, I need to do these things to achieve that dream, because things move fast. You don't think about it in the moment, but you play something like this, and every time you blink, the game lasted like 10 minutes or something like that because I blinked so much. But that's just because I was blinking. But
You had something stuck in your eye, and then...
yeah, I know, it was the dust flew. Yeah, it was bad. But yeah, it was, and it set me off on. I wrote 2 short films. I made one, fully directed it. I did a capstone project for my master degree, which I made a short film in like educational training. So I was able to turn my cybersecurity degree and make a film project out of it, which was like major for me. And then even like right now, recently, I wrote another short film and I submitted it to a contest to see if I can win, and it gets published in like a
Awesome.
magazine.
Nice. Very nice.
That's
So
great.
I'm like, this game made me like realize like I need to take the steps to do what I need to do before like everything's over, before your eyes. No, I'm just kidding. But and it was like this major part. So that was one of the things that was like a huge influence on me. And then the other one was actually, and this might receive some flack, but I don't know, was Last of Us.
Oh my god, that's another game that made me cry.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
haven't played Last of Us, and if you
Okay.
know what you're talking about when you say that game made you cry, you know exactly what moment I'm
I
speaking
do.
of.
Yeah, it's very heart-wrenching. Yeah.
And I feel like spoilers don't matter because this game's been out for so long, and if you haven't played it, this is on you. But when Joel's daughter dies in the first 5 minutes of that game, I am 23 years old. I don't have kids. I'm not like I am a single man. I'm not in a relationship or whatever. That made me like as weird as it sounds, it made me want to have kids. Like I would love to like start a family because of that moment because I felt so connected to like being not being in charge, but just like caring for somebody that much. It just moved me so much, and I was like, why do I feel connected to this father? I don't even have kids. Like I don't know what it was, but it just like hit me somewhere where I was just like that would be. I mean, I don't want to say that would be me in that situation because that's a fucked up situation to be in, but like I feel like that would be me. Like I would want to be that like Joel in that situation. Like I am stern. I am not overprotective, but protective enough where I get somebody like Ellie, and I even though completely like not related, I don't know who this person is. We picked him up on the side of the road basically, but I'd still have that like fatherly protectiveness over them, and like for some reason that struck a chord with me so much that I was like, I want to start a family. Like that is something that I would want to do now, which I never thought I would ever get to that point, to be honest. And that was like that was another thing
in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's
actually
good
there's
storytelling.
like reactions on YouTube of like people that don't play video games of like how they react to that exact moment in that game.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I even hot take, depending on who you are, but I even loved the second game. Last of Us Part 2, I also loved and cried for at the end.
No spoilers on this one.
No
I haven't
spoilers
played
on
it
this
yet.
one. Yeah, this
I,
one's still
I
kind
have
of
a
fresh.
reason why, but go ahead.
But yeah, I loved that game for reasons that I obviously won't say, but and I know it received a lot of hate in the beginning, and when I played it, I was just like, I don't see it, and like I'm not gonna hate on anybody's opinion if you hate the game or not. Like that's not what this is about. But I thought that it was also like one of the flawless games. Like I loved every single moment of it. Every part was fantastic. Anyways, that's my rant. Okay, sorry.
No,
would
I
say
mean
that
I've heard similar stories from other people, and I've never played the game, but I used to work at this job, and I talked to a guy, and we were talking about games, and he had the same experience. He didn't tell me specifically that part, but he was like, "That game changed." And I'm looking at this guy like, calm down, bro. Like we were just talking about games that we were into, and he was like looking. He gave me like really strong, direct eye contact, and he was like, "This game, The Last of Us, it was so good. Like it changed my life." And I was like, man, like whoa, this is a little too much, but. There must be something there. There must be something there, and you explaining your love for film, uh, that's there. I think in that, I think the pacing. I've never played the game, but I think pacing in games is really really important to draw out that emotional connection between the viewer and what's happening on the screen, and being able to build that relationship. So when moments like that happen, you can have an emotional reaction. I feel like sometimes now pacing's all jacked up. They just want to get to the next plot point, or they're trying to make sure the action keeps going. They want to keep you focused on the game. But in games like that, I feel like those pauses are really impactful. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there's something about that game. I've never played it again, and it's no biggie that you spoiled it for me. I'm not gonna hold it against you. I wasn't gonna cut you off either. But yeah, it's something there. It's something there, and they should continue to make more. And I've heard the flack for the second one as well. But again, I think that's people thinking that they're being ignored and not. I guess they're catering to another thing or something. I think it was like that whole wokeness thing again and culture war stuff. But it's a game. It's a video game. It's a story. It's entertainment. It's not supposed to change your whole mind or worldview. It's supposed to get you attached to a story and make you feel something, whether it's good or bad.
Gonna say, let me just get this out there before everybody wants to like freak out on me. I don't hate Last of Us 2. I want to play it. I own it. My issue is that I loved Last of Us 1 so much that the way that they ended it was like, I'm not, no spoilers, but like the way they ended it was so bittersweet and open and left for interpretation that I feel like if they were gonna do Last of Us 2, I would have liked to seen a different storyline that was not Joel and Ellie. Like I was
That
like,
makes
it
sense.
just,
Actually, it's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, like I was like, I feel like
Yeah.
they wrapped it up with like a little bow. It was perfect as it is. I didn't like need them to go back into that story. Not saying it's not good. I haven't played it, so I have no opinion. And I've heard really good things about it. I've heard mixed reviews, honestly, but I want to experience it myself at some point. But I was like kind of bitter that they did that because I feel like every game needs a damn sequel that does good, and I feel like that kind of like ruins it for me a little bit because I'm like I felt
Yeah.
like that game didn't need one, and I'm not saying that the sequel was not good. By all means, I haven't played it, but that's my qualm with that. That is the only reason why I haven't played it yet. I just haven't had the like itch to want to do it because yeah, I'm getting better, but I also heard it's like really long, like
It is, yeah.
extremely long.
It is one of those longer games, and I do agree. Like when I saw that they were coming out with a second, like when they released it at like whatever E3, Gamescom, whatever it was, I was like, do we really need a second one of this? And I was like 100% with you. Like at the end of the first one, I was like, cool, great. Like leave it up to the interpretation, imagination. That's a beautiful thing. Movies do that all the time. Awesome. They followed that path. Great. We don't need a second one. Signed, sealed, delivered. And then when they came out with the second, I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. But I was focusing on like the other reasons why it got through it, which is what I think Cosmic was getting to, was a lot of like the catering to stuff, because a lot of people were mad for other reasons, that like political reasons that I obviously don't really want to talk about on here. But yeah, I agree that like a sequel, I was like, interesting. I don't see why we needed to do it, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not like mad at it. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I'll do it begrudgingly, like walking up and grabbing my controller.
I was gonna say too, for those of you that like Last of Us, like I mean, Naughty Dog, like they also do like Uncharted, which is like
Oh,
Yeah,
really
Uncharted was
incredible.
great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the fourth one, but like 1 through
Yeah.
3 is really good.
I
Oh,
think
the
it's,
second
yeah, I
one.
forget how many. I played a few of them. I remember that much, but I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, so that's
Yeah.
why like I loved that game. So good, so good.
I love
They're
Indiana
great. I don't
Jones.
know if
Franchise.
Neil Druckmann did Uncharted as well. I know he did Last of Us, but I'm not. Let me just
Oh.
look that up.
Yeah, I have no idea actually.
Let me just look that up. Don't mind me.
Oh,
No
what was your question though? I think you went
Oh.
into the last one. I forgot totally what your question was.
Just like the most
influential?
influential games in your life, like kind of based
Oh,
off of the
most
list you guys sent me, to kind of like give you the chance to talk about the games that you kind of presented to me, if they haven't
Yeah,
like come up in the other questions or anything.
I talked about majority of them. I kind of want to touch on just two games. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I talked about that recently, but that game for me was really good because I was able to play that game. I'm thinking about like if I wasn't playing that game, what would I have been doing? That's what I'm trying to think about. The hours that I delved into that game and what I was doing at that age. Again, uh, Kitty mentioned like she didn't have like the greatest relationship with her stepfather. That was the same thing for me. I had a really bad relationship with my stepfather when I was, and this game came out in 99. So I was like around like 10, 11. And that was my escape from that guy. And if I wasn't doing that, then I would have had to deal with him. And I think this game really, really it built a friendship. I have like a childhood friend that I still talk to today, on and off, and we reminisce all the time about how he beat me with this high score, or this the different times that we played and the moments that we had playing that game. We won't ever forget them. Like those are going to be with us forever. And then another game was Gears of War. That was a game that I remember being first introduced to like online gaming. I know like Halo and Call of Duty and all that other stuff was out before, but that game was like I got to play with I had a small group of friends. I got to play with my small group of friends every day after school for like 4 hours and against people all over the world, and it was so cool to me. And I was just like, this is what I want to do from now on. I want to play online against other people and have fun with my friends consistently. I don't want to ever stop doing this. So Gears of War for sure got me like more interested in playing games online and just spending time with my friends. I just remember those open lobbies of just hearing other people talking trash and just the hours and time spent and the moments that we had within that game. And again, with the Tony Hawk, I don't regret that time. When you have a game that you don't regret the amount of time you put into it and the things you would have been doing instead of that, like dealing with, really toxic people or a bad time in your space, it's awesome because, again, I could have been reading a book or I could have been doing something else, but I had games instead and I don't regret any second of it. It was really, really awesome. So those types of games, I wanna keep them close and I kind of like safeguard them, even though they might like Gears of War, the sequels. I didn't really like the sequels, but just knowing about like the introduction to things like that, I don't regret it. It was really, really fun.
Sweet.
Go next.
Yeah, anybody else take it.
And also yes, he did do both Last of Us and Uncharted. I did confirm that.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because like my most influential games are not particularly my favorite games. This is not my top 5. But these are games that I feel like are notable for me just in general in my life. And I've already mentioned a couple of them. I mean, Street Fighter 2 is like Street Fighter 2 and Super Mario World are like the head of like why I am the way I am. Like just growing up, like Street Fighter 2 made me competitive as hell, and like I literally, like I said, got in fistfights over that game, like because I was unbeatable. I was literally unbeatable because like I said,
the ego.
Right.
but let me
Beating up
tell
your
you why.
cousins.
Beating up my cousins because everybody had newer
You weren't
consoles.
spamming the leg sweeps, were you? I hope.
Hell yeah, I was.
There it is.
Big son. But
Hard
like
jump.
I,
Yep. Hard kick. Hard sweep.
hell yeah.
No,
Like, oh my god, my cousin, I remember one particular fight we got into. He was so mad because like I was playing Chun-Li and I was just like in the air, like I was like jumping so much, and he was like, "Stop freaking jumping!" and he like couldn't like get to me. Oh my god.
Oh.
But anyways, yeah, that game like really brought out like that competitiveness and that need to like want to be the best and like want to hone in on my craft, like, and that
Yeah.
and it made me competitive and not just like gaming, just like in general, like, and also like, being a girl too in that type of environment, especially like now, like tons of girls play video games. It's like not like a thing, but like back then it was very rare, if any, that I knew of personally. So it was like it was like me and a bunch of boys. Like that's been my entire life, honestly. Like it's just me and a bunch of guys. Like this podcast is just me and all the guys. But like, for me it would always be like I felt like I had to have that edge. Like that, like I had to be better because I had to prove myself. And like that's just like internally in me. I'm not saying everybody has to be like that, but that was just like how it made me think. Like I wanted to be like that chick that like beat up all the guys,
Smash the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But Street Fighter, like that is like one of my most influential games. And the reason too, again, is like I said, everybody had newer consoles. All my cousins had newer consoles. My mom was like, before she met my stepdad, she was a single parent in Toronto, and like it's hard, and she didn't have money to like buy newer consoles or buy me games all the time. And I think that's like another thing that is a whole nother subject, but I'll touch on it, is that like I feel like back when like we were kids, or at least like with me, like I didn't get games often. Like I would just get a set of games, and I remember when I got like my first collection of SNES games, like we went to the video game store, we bought a bunch of used games, and my mom looked at me and she said in her very West Indian accent, like, this is what you're getting, don't ask me for nothing, play these games. You know what I mean? Like this is it, like you're
Yeah.
good, you're spoiled. Like, don't ask me for shit. And sure enough, like I played the hell out of those games and I appreciated those games. And I feel like nowadays, like where there's so much like media coming out and like you have different ways of like playing, like look at Game Pass, like you pay like $15 a month or whatever, you have unlimited games. I feel like you don't really like hold those games as like cherishable because it's like you have so many at like the like touch of your fingers. Like nothing is like that precious thing that you've been waiting so long to get, you know? Like it's so accessible. And I have this conversation all the time. Like I've even discussed it about like with anime too. It's the same kind of thing where it's like you look at these certain series that are so near and dear to you, but like realistically, like back then it was so hard to obtain that like when you did obtain it, you appreciated it. You know, but now it's just like you have so much. But yeah, so Street Fighter 2 and then Mario World, I literally my claim to fame is that I have one time beat that game in a half an hour because I've only had that game for so freaking long in my life that I just played it over and over and over and over and over because I had nothing else. And, you know, I just learned how to like find all the secrets and like learned how to like do the levels faster and like essentially like miniature
Speedrunning.
Yeah,
You're speedrunning.
but I had like no idea. I didn't know what speedrunning. I mean, I don't think speedrunning was a thing back then, but like it was just kind of one of those things where it was like because I played it so much and it was like I love the game. Like every time I put that game in my hand, it's like I don't even have to think. I just whoop, like it just happens. But yeah, so those two are on my list. I already talked about Halo 3. Like Halo 3 was like a huge like support during a really dark time of my life. My other game that I had on my list was oh my god, I'm literally blanking right now. DDR. Like in general. I loved DDR so much. I had one friend, her and I used to go to the arcades every single weekend. Like it was my parents didn't let me go anywhere, but for some reason they let me like, you know, go hang out with I mean, I think they're from the like church or whatever, so like they were like, "Oh, they're fine." So but like me and her like we were like the church outcasts. Like I'm not even lying. Like we got made fun of so much because like we were just nerdy kids. We were into anime and video games, but we played the hell out of DDR. And we would always go to the arcades and play to the point where we started getting into competitive DDR. And I was crazy back then. I used to do so much. Now I can't. Like my stamina is just like not there. I was so fit back then, but it's just like that game, like, and learning how to like do stuff and like coordinate and, you know, play the game. I feel like that game was like super, super, super like, you know, you don't think about these things because like when I think about my top 5, completely different list. Completely different list to this. Like, you know, Metal Gear 1, Chrono Trigger, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Metroid, Super Metroid, like those games are on my top list. But like these games are the games that like I don't really think about, but they kind of like held my hand through my life, you know? And Ocarina of Time is on my list as well. That's when I started getting into exploration more a little bit. So
Quick tangent, because you said DDR and it brought me to a great memory. This is more of a funny story. This isn't like an influential thing. So anybody's good at DDR, in my opinion, as long as you don't dislocate your knee like I did when you play it. So,
oh my god.
You got the 2 left feet.
Yeah. I used to
that's terrible.
destroy in DDR. And then one day, it was really funny. I went to PAX East with my friends and
I love Taxi.
it was amazing. It was my first time at PAX East too, which was really funny. So I left high school early and I went to PAX East and we went and they had like DDR that you could play. Like you would go up and wait in a line and then you'd play it and like people could stand and watch you. It was like on a stage or whatever. So we waited in line because I used to play DDR at the arcade with my cousin all the time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like, of course, boosting my own ego. I'm like, oh, I'm nasty at DDR. Like, you're not going to beat me. Like, I'm just about to show everybody up here. And I get on and we're playing DDR and I stepped and shifted my weight too fast. And my left knee dislocated and I fell to the ground. And then I got back up, finished the song, and then walked off the stage. And then I had to get carried out to my car after because my knee swelled up so much I couldn't walk on it.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my god.
Well,
Well,
the
I've never
fact that
had
you
that
best
after the
experience.
moments.
Thank God.
dislocation, the fact that you kept on going is just like,
Oh,
Yeah,
you
dude.
have to finish. The show must
did you
go
end? I guess
on.
the adrenaline, have people watching you, like, oh
Yeah, the show
You're
must
the
go
guy on
on.
the like game. He's like, calm down.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like all like
Yes.
everybody was clapping and they all thought it was like part like I was acting it up and I was like, hey, it's okay, everybody, don't worry. But that was
Crazy.
my side tangent.
Have you seen the machines nowadays? Because like, so I don't know if anybody has round ones near them, but like round ones are like popping up all over the country. Like they're awesome. Like we go all the time. But they have like all the like music rhythm games, like Japanese like rhythm games,
Mhm.
and they have the new DDR machines, which are like hooked up to like an online server that has like a worldwide leaderboard. And you scan in your card and you like all your stats like update as you play the games in the arcade. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Sweet.
I hadn't seen one and I remember like the first time I did like I was trying to like figure out cuz they have like all the songs on there. Like doesn't matter what mix you want, it's all on there. And I'm like this old person like clicking on like where's all the old stuff? I had some like
Where's
young kids come
Sandstorm?
and help me.
We need Sandstorm.
I used to do kick the can on DDR, I think was like an old one.
Yes, that's a good one.
Oh man,
like
that
that
was so
one.
funny. Oh,
But yeah.
good stuff. All right, well, what do you got for
Oh.
us? I know you have some crazy
yeah.
games.
Well, yeah. The biggest one out of all the lists. Again, I can understand why we all kind of had trouble making this list because again, these so many games that have impacted us in so many different ways, and I think part of it is due because of when a lot of these influential games happened when we were younger too, when we were just really taking it in. Not that we don't digest it the same as we're adults, but as we become adults, our minds kind of change and whatnot. But anyway, Secret of Mana for Super Nintendo came out in, like 1992. It was
Oh,
like an old
yeah.
school, like a 16-bit RPG game. And why that was so amazing to me is because you started off as a single player, but then you would meet two more characters along the way. One was like a sprite, and one was like like another female protagonist. And that related it. I can relate to it so much because I took the sprite as like my brother, and actually my brother was able to play too, but obviously my sister was older, so she didn't really play. Um, but so I would kind of pretend, it's like the sprite was my brother, I was the main character, and then the girl character was like my sister, and just going on this adventure together. you know s- Also in my mind I was like, all right, it's like me, my brother, and my sister having this adventure together. So that was a big reason why it was so influential, but also too, like obviously it kind of has like a bittersweet ending. They end up saving the world, but at the cost of I think the sprite ends up dying or gets put into another world. But it's such a beautiful game, great soundtrack. Squaresoft makes it same along the same lines of like Chrono Trigger, I think Illusion of Gaia, like that whole realm of those type of games, which is so amazing. And then Halo again for the kind of like the same reasons as like Cosmic and Kitty, just because of the competitiveness, the online aspect. If you're actually able to after school can interact, still hang out with your friends, and that was always just such an exciting experience, even like at the time with playing with my friends. And then another one was Silent Hill. That one really hit me. That one hit me kind of the same reason why Halo hit me too, though, because let me backtrack with Halo. So I had stopped from a time when I wasn't started to do like by band stuff. I stopped gaming for a few years. So from like 2000, maybe actually 99 to like 2003. So I hadn't touched games. I was just out, band practicing, playing shows and stuff like that. But then my brother got me into Halo 2, and I was like, just the feeling, I was like, holy shit, this is why I loved video games, because it was so fucking amazing. And that's the same thing with Silent Hill. But with Silent Hill, it's a horror game, and I'm a huge horror movie guy. So like that.
Will, I think we're gonna be good friends, buddy.
Yeah.
Same place as
I have
Will.
I have movie nights on my Discord. They run late, but like 90% of the time, it's just like 80s campy slasher horror movies.
Yeah.
So
Did you like the new Doctor Strange movie?
I loved it. Oh my god, Sam
Yeah.
Raimi. I mean,
Sam
he
Raimi?
does
Evil
no
Dead?
wrong. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I think
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't understand. I was like, you guys got
really. Oh
the
man.
director, you got to focus.
I
Like,
think it
yeah,
was
I don't think they
because
saw it.
when they were told Sam Raimi's making a Marvel movie, they immediately went Spider-Man. Like it's gonna be like another Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And then I think what he did I'm gonna go on a film rant. Get ready, everybody.
That's totally fine by me. Film rants are good.
I think what he
Bring on my
did,
popcorn.
and one of the beautiful things, I watched Evil Dead literally before I went to see Multiverse of Madness, and there
Hell
are
yeah.
shots that are like cut and dry from Evil Dead.
Oh
like,
yeah, he's got
he
his
does-
trademark. Yep.
Yeah,
Evil Dead
exactly.
1, 2, and 3.
Watch
Army of
Drag Me to
Darkness.
Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drag Me to Hell was amazing
Drag
too.
Me to
Yeah,
Hell.
Oh my
Drag
God.
Me to
Okay,
Hell
yeah.
is really good.
Yeah.
But I think that was like a thing. I was sitting with my friends, and I don't like to talk in a movie theater. And I don't like when people talk in a movie theater. But anyways, I was when they did, there was one shot where he did it was the when they close the door and then he does his like, I forget what it's actually called, but yeah, he twists the camera when he zooms in on the door, and I was like, I went over and I whispered, I'm like, that's an Evil Dead reference, and my friend was like, shut up, Gino. And I was like, okay.
God. My wife gets so mad when I like point out those things. She gets so upset. I'm just like, see this in this part, you know, it's so funny because it's just, you have all of this like passion and you just want to share it with them. Like,
Yes.
this is so influential
All this
because of
excitement,
this
yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And everybody else is just watching like, it's just a movie. Like, I'm like, no, this is this
100%.
the
Yeah,
connection.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
movies are
why
like my
people didn't
church,
like
yeah.
that Raimi, because it wasn't like I felt like the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies, which I will admit, aren't my favorites. I like them
I still
every
love
time
them. Maybe
I
it's
watch them.
biased, but I still love the
Oh,
old
Spider-Man
school.
2,
Yeah.
the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock is like top 100%. I love that movie, but I really like Amazing Spider-Man, but that's just because I like Andrew Garfield's version of Spider-Man. This is a whole nother debate.
Whoa. I don't know. We got to talk off the show about that.
I'm just telling myself no judgment, no hate zone. It's fine.
But
Do
yeah,
the third one?
he
Did
was
he
the
do-
second one. So it
Okay.
was, Tobey Maguire, then
second
Andrew Garfield, and then
franchise.
it was Tom Holland after.
Yep.
And I like Andrew Garfield the most.
I think he was too cool. He was too cool of a Spider-Man.
Well, I think
Guy
he
was
was a good
skateboarding.
I agree
Spider-Man,
with Cosmic. Yep.
a bad Peter Parker. So Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man, and then Tom Holland, I liked him in the beginning, but as the movies went on, I was kind of like, "Eee." But I also think it was because of the writing. I don't know. Anyways, I do like Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland does a great job at being both, which I feel like was kind of missing, but that's whatever.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
think Into the Spider-Verse could take all of them down.
I 100% agree
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Yep, 100% agree. But anyways, yeah, the Sam Raimi stuff. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I'm sure someone already did. Just one more really quick thing. I'm sure somebody already did on YouTube, but I really want to make a side-by-side comparison of Multiverse and the Evil Dead's, just showing like his trademark things, because they're still there, and you're just like,
There's so many.
Yep.
oh man, he does not fucking hide it at all. I love it. It's good. That's his trademark, so makes sense.
Yeah, it's insane.
Still, I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
Oh, yeah,
Silent
Silent
Hill
Hill.
was, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Silent Hill. Yeah, no, again,
That's my fault, sorry.
Very horror. And then again, he's searching for his daughter. So there's that kind of similar, like The Last of Us, that unconditional love between parent and child. So that really hit me, especially growing up and whatnot. I forget how old I was with that. And then the other one,
Great movie.
yeah, amazing
One of the
movie. I
very
really loved.
few.
Yeah, no, I do love how they. So be a really quick tidbit with that. Yeah, they made the main character a female just because it would portray, at the time it portrayed a better, love between parent and child. Which I think they could have done with the right, actor being, it doesn't really matter, but they did a great job. I haven't seen the sequels though. But I definitely, it's on my list, but the original Silent Hill movie is pretty awesome. I
It's
do
so
want to see the
good.
one with Kit Harington though. That one, I don't know why that one looks, I just love Kit Harington.
Kit Harington's in a Silent Hill movie?
Yeah, it's like part 3, I think. It's like,
What?
I don't know. Yeah, I think, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be full of it, but I'm like 99% positive.
Okay.
And then the last one is just Monkey Island. It was just like the simple PC point and click game, but it was just like so quirky and funny. And I'm super into just like dumb, dad jokes, play on words. It was just so awesome. It just made me feel really, really happy. And I think that's why we play video games, is just to give us these, these sense of emotions of happiness or sadness, and whatnot. Even like the anger, raging and stuff, like deep down inside, it's just like, we know it's just a game, but it's just kind of that competitive edge. So it's good that games can make us feel that way. And I love it. And that's why I love it.
Dude, my husband loves that freaking game. He talks about that game all the time. Like, I've never played it,
Well,
but
which
like
game, Monkey Island? Or
Monkey
Silent-
Island, yeah, he
Dude,
talks
it's
about that
so
game
good.
all the
It's so-
time.
you have to play.
because he's always
So
like
funny.
Pirates of the Caribbean ripped off of Monkey Island. He's like all of it.
Actually, you're right. Holy shit! I never really thought of. I never put the two
Yeah.
together.
He was also
Bastards.
talking about like Monkey Island too, about like because like in one of the Pirates movie, there's like the voodoo doll or whatever,
Mhm.
and like he was like, "That's a ripoff of Monkey Island
Yeah.
too." Like do
Dude, oh
that,
my
and,
God.
and I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh wait, wasn't Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever? Wasn't that originally a book series and that they adapted into a movie? Right?
No. So
no?
funny
Or,
story. We did some digging into it because we literally just watched all 4 of them recent. Don't ask me why we went through all 4, but like the first one is one of the greatest movies ever. Like I'm sorry, it's
Yeah,
so
I've only
good.
seen the first one. That
100%.
one was amazing.
So
That was
good.
really
And then they just progressively get horrible. But like evidently they were supposed to make a Monkey Island movie. And there was like they deny that like they even know what Monkey Island is. Like they're like no, it has nothing to do with it. But the like references are so close that they actually like the people that wrote Pirates of the Caribbean met with the people that were making the Monkey Island movie, and they had like a whole like conversation and meeting. But to this day, the Pirates people like they deny that it has anything to do with Monkey Island. But it's like so. But you guys had this meeting with these guys that were going to make this movie, and the movie never went through. So it's like if you dig deep enough, like there's some really interesting.
No, I wouldn't
like,
doubt if they completely. I mean, that's Disney for you in a nutshell.
Yeah,
But
and then Disney bought
it's-
Lucasfilms, who
Yeah.
made
Oh, yeah, who did- you're right.
made
Oh,
Curse of Monkey
gosh.
Island. So now there's no
Oh,
issues
yeah.
because they own them.
Well, but Pirates was
Damn.
originally based off of the ride, right? At
Yeah.
Disney, so it didn't have a story.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that the story is pretty much identical to Monkey Island, as so my husband says. I wouldn't know.
So, Kitty, I
suggest
think
you
you have
play
to
it,
go back and watch all 5 Pirates movies because there's 5 of them.
There's one coming. No, wait, there's 4, right? I thought there was 4,
There's
and then there's a 5
Pirates
with
of the
5 coming out.
Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. There's At World's End is the 3rd one. Then there's On Stranger Tides, which is their quest for the Holy Grail, I think, or
That
something.
was the worst one. It's
And
so
then
bad.
there's Dead Man Tell No Tales, which is I think out on Disney Plus, which is the most recent one. And then they're
Oh, it
making
is?
a new one right now. And I think Dead Man Tell No Tales has Javier Bardem as the main antagonist.
Yes.
I
Dude,
haven't watched
really
the
good.
Margot Robbie is supposed to be
CGI.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, she's replacing him. Yep.
And they said that they're trying to get him back so that
That's
there's
what I
going to be
heard.
2 versions, one with Margot Robbie and one with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, they're playing damage control right now after the whole trials is what Disney's doing, so it's a little wacky, but who knows what happened. But well, I
Yeah,
do
Should
want
be
to say
interesting, at the
thank you
least.
for bringing up a horror game in this, because I also think the horror genre is, I don't want to say severely overlooked, but I do think it's overlooked a lot of the time. I haven't played Silent Hill. I also haven't watched any of the movies, so I feel like I'm missing out. But I started getting into horror games like a couple years ago. I never played them because I was a very, very scaredy cat when it came to anything.
Yeah, me
I,
At least
too.
you can admit it. That's good. That you
yeah,
can admit
I
that. That's
remember, funny enough, I remember me and my brother were trying to figure out a movie to watch on demand, and one of them was Silent Hill. Like, it was an on-demand movie, and he played me the trailer, and I watched the trailer, and I'm like, we are not watching that. I will have nightmares for the rest of my life,
awesome.
and you will, like, I will smother you if you play this movie for me. So we didn't end up watching it. I never watched it since. But I feel like I should go watch it now, since it's, I guess, one of the best.
Yeah, just
video
leave
game
all the
movies.
lights on. You know,
Yeah.
don't turn the volume too loud.
So good.
You know,
Oh,
it'll be
I'm
fine.
good now. I watch horror movies nonstop. I love them, and horror games. I mean, one of my favorite games of all time is Alien Isolation. Love
Oh,
that
yeah.
game so
Really?
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't. Yeah,
Interesting.
played some of it. And what I played was awesome.
yeah. I
Very
mean,
awesome.
Alien, the first movie, is also one of my favorite movies of all
I
time.
haven't
I
seen
love
them.
that
That's
movie.
on my list like this week, actually.
The
I've been
first
going
one's
through-
good, and then the second one's
1
like
and 2.
they
Yeah, I
took
like
a
1 and
genre
2.
turn too in the second one, I think.
Yeah, I liked 2 just because of the little kid that was in it too. But yeah, after that, then it just goes downhill for me.
Yeah,
But
I
one and
I've
agree.
been wanting to watch the Alien movies more recently because I just finished watching Stranger Things, and I was like,
Yep.
I saw so many similarities, and now,
Mm.
again, I was annoying my wife with all of them. I was like, that part right there, that part right there, and I was like, man, I gotta watch this again.
Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite.
Yes,
like, oh
that-
my god! And there's
yeah.
so
It was
many
very
references.
influential. Yeah.
And the fact that Robert Englund is in Stranger Things in season 4, I was like, I was
chef's kiss
screaming.
right there.
Mhm.
I literally got up. My husband does not care about horror movies. He loves horror games, but he hates like horror movies. And I like when I saw Robert Englund, I literally jumped off of the couch. I ran up. I was like, he's like, I don't know who that is. Like, and I'm just like, Freddy Krueger. Like, like I just, oh, that was such a good moment for me.
I haven't finished
But
season 4 of Stranger Things yet, so no spoilers. But
it's actually really good.
I'm watching it
good.
right
I
now.
loved it.
I think I'm on episode I think I have 2 left or like 1 left or something. So it's
That's not bad.
insane. I'm enjoying season 4
Yeah,
a
it's a
lot.
great season. I
Yeah.
thought it was a really good season.
I recently
really
saw on the horror movie track, I saw Black Phone.
That I need to
Recently
see
with
That I
Ethan
really-
Hawke.
Is that still in
I've heard that
theaters?
that's
Did they already
really
pull it?
good.
It's
Yeah.
so I will say it's not like as horror-y as I thought, but it's still like a very good movie for sure. I also had the
Yeah, and
worst
Yeah.
theater experience in it though, but that's completely unrelated. So
I was gonna say I'm surprised you didn't mention BioShock because I was hooked to BioShock is one of my favorite. So I have a bunch of horror games that are my favorite. I love horror games as well. Dead Space and BioShock and I feel like BioShock kind of teeters on horror, not
Yeah.
horror. But like freaking when Gita was streaming BioShock, because I'm like a huge fan. The reason I'm streaming to this day is because I collected so many BioShock figures that I was able to sell to buy my PC or to build my
Whoa.
Oh damn!
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Dude, but good thing I have duplicates of like everything I sold. So I still have like everything. I don't know why I bought duplicates. I think I thought like I was gonna save some in boxes and then open some to display. And eventually they were all always in storage. So I sold like half of the collection, which was essentially duplicates, to build my PC to start streaming. So BioShock is actually probably should be on my influential list as well because I kind of forgot that I even did that. But I remember when you were going through it on stream, I was like so annoying in the chat. I was like, I was like, I'm just right here. You just tell me if you need anything. And I was just
read
like,
all the audio logs. Make sure you understand the audio logs. I was like, okay, I'll read the audio logs. I'll listen.
excited because like I'm not trying to backseat because obviously he's trying to play the damn game, but I was so invested in like his reactions to like every single thing, which is I think why a lot of people watch streams. But I really enjoyed watching him go through BioShock. That was probably one of my favorite times of you streaming.
That's on my top 5 list. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much. But that's definitely one of my top 5 lists. That game was like
so good.
it was astounding. And I mean, I don't want to say anything, but I'll just say holy shit, and then I'll leave it at that, and you know what I'm saying if you played the game.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. I think that's about it, unless you guys have any lasting farewell words to talk about for games. I'll let you plug yourselves for your Twitch streams and any other content that you have. If you have any big announcements or news, definitely shimmy that in there. But we are reaching a decent time, but I mean, all a great talk overall. So like, it's not like it's a terrible thing. But yeah. So go ahead, I guess. Yeah, Cosmic, you can start. Go ahead and not a shameless plug, but just a plug here.
Yeah. I stream on Twitch. Zeko comes in once in a while. I really enjoyed it a lot. I've streamed for a while, but it was like on and off, and now I'm starting to be more consistent with it. I really like just talking to people. I'm starting to play more single player games just so I can like pause and have a good time. And at first, when I first started streaming, I was playing like multiplayer games and really competitive. But I really lost that aspect of like communication and community. So I'm starting to play more slower paced games. Right now we're playing Jedi Fallen Order,
Great game.
which is really fun so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'm starting to get more invested into games with like, I don't know, the design elements are really good. So I think I'm going to continue playing that all the way through, and I'm not sure what I'll play after that. I was playing Mass Effect. I played through all of the Mass Effects a couple weeks ago, a month ago, and I really enjoyed Mass. I didn't know how great that game was, and I had so many people coming in, just fans of the game, like, how far are you? You know, telling me all this stuff. Ooh, this part, that part. Are you going to 100%? I'm like, my mind was so Mass Effected out. Like
So who you
hours and
dated?
hours of this game.
Who did you
What was
date?
that?
Who'd you date?
Oh, oh my gosh. So I first started dating, I think her name was Kelly. She was on the ship. She was like right next to it. And then she died. And then, and yeah, so I guess I didn't go to the mission fast enough because I went to another mission before the end mission. Anyway, and then I started dating me and I forgot her name already. She was. It's like the race of all women. Forgot.
Oh,
Of all.
Kali,
Yes, Kali.
Kali,
Yeah.
yeah.
I dated her. That was like my main squeeze. And they kept trying to push the other dude on me, and I was like, "Yo, I don't want to deal with you. Like, I'm
Come on,
messing with
Garrett.
Kali." Not Garrus,
Oh, I love
the
Garrus.
first dude that you start off with in the first Mass Effect. They kept trying to push him on me, and I didn't
I
like it.
who that is. I
I
was
don't
like,
remember his
I
name.
only played the third one, so sorry.
Oh,
what?
okay.
The second one is the best one.
Yeah,
I
the second one
skipped, I
is the
know.
best one. They are
Oh
all
my God.
badass intros. Like all the characters in the second one is like a crazy entourage. You just like getting all these badasses. It's so good. But yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really liked going down memory lane and really building out this list and like starting to think about my love for gaming and like just over the years playing all these different games, what they've meant to me. You've got me listening to these soundtracks again that I haven't listened to in years, and I hope to do this again. This was really really fun.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I thought we were name calling out who was next.
Oh no, I was just gonna I was gonna say clockwise, but then I messed it up, so that's on me. I mean, you can just there's no I'd hand you a virtual talking stick. You know?
Go next since I'm
You Kitty.
Cosmic over here. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for putting this together and also including me in your first episode. I feel honored and I appreciate it very much. Also, my name is KittyMecha. I stream mostly retro variety games on Twitch, but sometimes like I'll toss it back and play like a more newer games. Like I do random streams on Saturdays where currently I'm going through Visage. I don't know why the hell I
yeah.
decided to
that
put
game still.
myself through that game,
I
but
remember somebody
A lot
like
of good jump scares in
requesting
that
that. Oh my god, that game is
Yeah.
fantastic. Anyways,
one of my mods just bought it for me like on stream. So like they made me go through that Poppy's Playtime game, which is pretty fun actually.
Yeah, I like that one.
But they made me go through that, which was actually it was good. And then like one of my mods was like bought Visage or I don't know how to say it. Is it Visage or Visage?
I don't think anybody knows how to say it because
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
go back and forth when I played it. I was like, oh, we're gonna play Visage, but Visage. I don't know. Visor. I have no idea.
Potato, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
There's
literally
no wrong
like bought
answer.
it on my stream, so everybody like saw the alert pop up from my my Steam, and I was like, ah, shit, now I gotta play this game. So I do those like on the fun weekend, but like I'm mostly a retro variety. I've been going through the Mega Man series. We're up to Mega Man 8. We went through 1 through 7. But right now I'm actually taking a slight baby break. We're playing Luigi's Mansion just because Mega Man is amazing, but going through 8 games in
Yeah.
a row is a lot. And I want to enjoy the series. So I'm like, let me just take a small break. We're gonna finish up 8, and then in the meantime, we're just do some Luigi's Mansion. But I normally stream Tuesdays through Fridays, 8 p.m. EST to late. But also, more importantly, I want everybody to go follow frickin' Gino Zeko12. I don't care if he feels awkward that I'm saying this, but he's a great person and he deserves the love.
Don't listen to
So.
her.
Yeah, no, same Zeko. Thank you so much for having me, having us. I loved talking with all you guys. You guys were the best. I wish I had my soundboard on because I put in my "You're the best around." It's part of my
Yeah.
soundboard collection on my stream. But yep, name is Will. WillHavenGaming. Try to do variety stuff. But the past few years it's been like 80% Apex and just losing my mind in that game. But as of recently, I've been doing other battle royales like Fortnite. And then just playing I've been playing Prey. I just started Prey, this game Prey, which is really good. It's a
Yeah.
Bethesda game.
Is it the
really liking
new
that.
one, or are you playing the older
I don't think
one?
I think the older I think it's the most
Okay.
likely the older one.
Because
Yeah.
there was the one that came out, I think, like 2016 or something, and I played that, and it was sick. But anyways,
Yeah.
sorry.
This one's really good. Oh no, you're good. And then other than that, I just beat Insound Mind, which is like a really good game. You play like this psychiatrist or whatever, and something funky's going on in town. I'm the worst with descriptions, but it was a good game. Definitely check it out. And other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like again, it's like all over the place, and there's plenty of rants on my stream, as Zeko has probably heard some of them. So But I'm definitely gonna check like Kitty. I think I've seen you stream a couple times, but Cosmic, I just gave you a follow. Definitely gonna check
Thank
out your
you.
stuff. Stop in, man. And again, thanks Zeko so much, dude. You're the best. You're the man.
Oh, well,
I think I'm
thank you
following
so
all
much.
3 of you guys, so if you don't see a notification, it's because I'm already following you.
All right.
Great.
Or she's lying and doesn't want to follow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Well,
Don't put her on
thank
the
you guys.
spot.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for doing this. I know scheduling was a little crazy, but hey, we made it through,
We
and
did
what
it.
doesn't kill
We
you
did
makes you
it.
stronger.
That's right.
Kelly Clarkson said that, and words to live by. Uh, but yeah, thank you guys so much for being, I mean, the guinea pigs, but also like for the first episode. This went for about 2 hours, but it was like a sweet 2 hours. I feel like we talked about a lot, hit a lot of points. And I had a great time. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So everybody who's listening / watching, and I'm pointing at the camera for those who aren't watching, go follow these people or I'll find you because I have my ways. You can ask, I don't know, somebody. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And bye everybody listening and
Take
watching.
care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.